Trump administration tried to dial back President Trump's over-the-top threat to North Korea this week following new reports that the country is one step closer to having a long-range nuclear missile that could reach as far as Chicago. But yesterday, the president continued to flex U.S. nuclear muscle in a two-part tweet. My first order as president was to renovate and modernize our nuclear arsenal. It is now far stronger and more powerful than ever before, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is not true. Now, the president goes on to say, hopefully we will never have to use this power, but there will never be a time that we are not the most powerful nation in the world. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson on the island of Guam tried to tamp down President Trump's bellicose language, which has unnerved Americans at home and our allies overseas.
What the president was doing is sending a strong message to North Korea in language that Kim Jong-un would understand, because he doesn't seem to understand diplomatic language. And I think the president just wanted to be clear to the North Korean regime that the U.S., unquestionable ability to defend itself, will defend itself and its allies. And I think it was important that he deliver that message to avoid any miscalculation on their part.
Now, Defense Secretary James Mattis yesterday maintained a harsh tone, but he clarified when the United States would strike North Korea, not simply, as Trump implied, based solely on spoken or written threats. It would take North Korean action to trigger a massive military response. In a statement, he wrote, the DPRK, that's North Korea, must choose to stop isolating itself and stand down its pursuit of nuclear weapons. The DPRK should cease any consideration of actions that would lead to the end of its regime and the destruction of its people. Last night, North Korea's commander of strategic forces issued a new threat to Guam, saying they are planning a launch of 4 intermediate-range missiles by mid-August and drop them within 18 to 24 miles of the United States territory to, quote, interdict the enemy forces on major military bases on Guam and to signal a crucial warning to the United States. Now, the statement also ridiculed Trump for being at a golf course when the threatened North Korea called his statement, quote, nonsense. Now, a CNN poll taken just before this latest escalation found the majority of Americans do not have confidence in the way Trump is handling the situation in North Korea, with half of those polled saying they disapprove. Now, joining us today on the panel, we have Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Raynard Jackson, GOP strategist, and Amber J. Phillips, co-host of Black Joy Mixtape podcast. Also joining us, attorney A. Scott Bolden, chairman of the National Bar Association PAC, and my fellow Howard Bison.
H.U.
You know. So let's talk. Did you sleep well?
Not at all. You have to worry. You have to worry for the people of Guam.
Yes.
I mean, can you imagine having this, madmen, well, 2 madmen, sparring over, power, throwing insults. But, what we need now is de-escalation. That's just clear. Yeah. We don't need to be ramping this up anymore. Men, we don't need to hear your masculinity chants. It's time to really talk about how to manage a very tense and very hostile relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Raynard, let me ask you, do you think, is it time for the world just to get used to living with a nuclear North Korea?
No, excuse me, that's not going to happen. And I think the people are misreading this whole North Korea situation. This is all about China, not North Korea. Trump has been blustery to get the attention of China, for China to put more pressure on North Korea, because China is paranoid and petrified of the thought of a collapsing government in North Korea, because they're going to have to deal with all the refugee flows crossing across in their border. They don't want that. And the last thing China wants is a reunified Korea Peninsula.
But you're like assuming anyone would be alive after all of this goes down for China to be
worst
having refugees.
Worst case scenario, you have a few 100,000 people dead. Worst case scenario.
Look, we've got some sound I want to hear. We've got some sound we want to hear, and then I'm going to go to Amber and Scott. Can we pull up Mr. Trump talking about North Korea?
Awful.
Best not make any more threats to the United States.
Best not.
Yeah,
best not make no more threats to North. Like, let's really think about those. I mean, among other
Amber,
things.
give me a second. Can we pull that up and then we'll go to Amber. Do we have that?
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
Now, Amber, I don't know if you watched a lot of the news coverage yesterday, but this is a statement the president makes frequently about everything under the sun. But what do you think, despite him getting a little bit colored there? What do you think about the statement?
I mean, that is who they elected. I love how his wife is like doesn't want to be in that history shot of like I'm going to lean over here, because honestly, this sounds like the opening scene of like the next Marvel comic. Like he sounds like a supervillain. He's like making these threats as if like Bane is going to come down behind him and help him with this whole plan of destroying not only another place but American people. He's not even thinking about not even thinking about the fact that not only can we not sleep over this, but that this puts us in danger for what?
Yeah.
What are we getting out of this? How is this serving the American public? It's absurd to me.
So Scott, what do you think about, I was reading last night, Russia's defense minister has asked the president to tone it down. So we have a mentally ill head of state in North Korea. We have what appears to be a mentally ill president of the United States and a mentally ill head of state in Russia. And it is Russia and the Chinese government that are saying to the president, please tone down the rhetoric, find a political way to handle this, don't escalate. What does it say about the world we live in?
This is real. We are at that moment. It's, you remember the Hillary Clinton campaign ad that had the kids watching TV? I thought about that ad, and then they ran the comments by Donald Trump doing the campaign, and then they had the possible nuclear bombs and this whole circumstance. We're in that moment. And so this is serious. When I first heard Donald Trump's comments, I thought about an older boy and a younger boy playing in the sandbox, playing war, and that the big boy was winning the war. And I thought, that's awful, and but we're at that moment. Except one thing, it's real. These are nuclear weapons, and where do we go from here? We're the audience, if you will, but we certainly aren't third-party beneficiaries. We're going to be the victims in this. And so I wish Russia and China would tone it up, and I wish Donald Trump would use those words diplomatically and through back channels to China and Russia to tone things down.
So if we play devil's advocate here, I was listening yesterday, and someone said that the language doesn't really matter that the president is using because this is the way Kim Jong-un speaks all the time. This is the way that this is something that he will respond to. It's the kind of rhetoric that he will understand. Barbara, what do you think?
Well, people forget there's a history here that we got to remember, that the United States is the only country in the world that's ever dropped a nuclear bomb on people and have killed people. Hiroshima, Japan. It's not that far from South Korea, not that far from North Korea. Well, and Asian people remember that.
Well, and African Americans should remember it. We've got how many thousands of African Americans do we have in Seoul on military bases in South Korea? Which, by the way, I believe, Reynard, that we do not have an ambassador in South Korea yet.
Well, not yet. But what you all got
president. What do you think about that?
So what you all got to understand is Obama was one of the weakest presidents in the.
Oh my God, Reynard, no. But why are we going back to Obama?
No.
He's not president anymore.
He was one of the weakest presidents on foreign policy.
He killed Saddam Hussein.
No one feared him. And so what Trump is doing, people in diplomatic arenas who I talk to all the time, they know that these foreign leaders are petrified of Donald Trump. Therefore, they're going to react differently. Obama did more damage to American foreign policy.
I misspoke when I said Saddam Hussein. Look, the perpetrators of 9/11, who took them out?
George W. Bush.
Well, took out Saddam Hussein.
Oh, Obama.
But Obama, I mean, Obama, he dealt with bin Laden. I mean,
But his foreign policy, I'm not talking about an individual act. His foreign policy made Jimmy Carter look like a hawk.
Okay, so now that
like they're laughing at him.
Yes, and now that we have
they fear him,
reviewed
though.
President Obama's record as president, let's talk about this situation here.
Right.
Because I think there's a few things going on. One, we are talking about this leader as if they are not can't comprehend, as if conversations can't happen, as if it's not our job to be the higher ground and we talk about going high and when they go low. Why can't we assume that there can be a conversation that can be had? And that doesn't mean that our president or Rex Tillerson should be matching violence with violence. That's not how we're going to get through any of these situations.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.